Yeah.
Okay.
Good day, everyone. My name is Toyasi Adeomi, and I'm going to be anchoring the show today. On Green Talk with us today, we have Jumoke Oguntimei, an expert in agriculture management from Forest Agriculture Management Chain. Welcome, Jumoke. How are you today?
Thank. I'm fine. Thank you, Toyosi. Thank you for having me here. I'm happy.
Okay, so let's kickstart because our time is fast spent already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today we're going to be asking you some questions related to agricultural production chain management, which is
Okay.
what you're undergoing your MSc in currently. So first, as you know, the topic for today is sustainability value chain. So in your own words, what do you understand by sustainability value chain?
Okay. Well, when we talk about sustainability, of course, we are referring to the three pillars of sustainability: the
Yeah.
environmental aspect, social, and economic aspect. So, if in my own words, I'm to talk about sustainability values, in a value chain, then it would mean I would refer to it as the set of activities or actions that helps to contribute to environmental conservation, social, and economic development. So that's just simply it.
Okay, so for people that are not very conversant with some of these terms that you used, can you like expatiate more on what you mean by them?
You mean the environmental
Environmental, yes,
conservation? Yeah,
conservation.
well, if we're talking about sustainability, it is actually grounded on three basic things, three basic aspects. So sustainability is about, ensuring that, okay, whatever resources we have, of course, we are able to pass it on to generations coming after us. But however, it's not
Yeah.
just about the resources, it has to do with the people as well. So, which is a social
Okay.
aspect, and also what sustains the people, which has to do with the economic aspect. So it's sustainability covers these three aspects: the environmental aspect, which is the resources we have, the human resources, the social aspect, and also what sustain both the environment and the social aspect, so which has to do with the economic aspect.
So talking about forest product chain right now, what are the actors that are involved in forest product chain?
Well, I'll start by talking about the chain itself. Why do we call it a
Yeah.
chain? So it's just like forest chain is also the same as relatively the same as agricultural chain. And so why do we call it a chain? Of course, it is called a chain because there are a list of activities, sequential activities, that are carried out in order to bring a product to the end consumers. So it often begins with an input provider, that is someone that supplies maybe the seeds or the fertilizers to the farmers and other inputs needed for production. So it often starts that way. And then it progresses to, okay, when the input is provided, of course, the farmer acquires the land and plants. That is another activity. And after that is done, you need to progress also. Maybe it's time for harvesting and collection. Then who sells it? Maybe there are aggregators involved, that is collect the harvested fruits and then sell to another person in the chain, maybe a processor that processes this particular agricultural commodity into something else. So it progresses that way. It's a sequential activity, and that is why it is called a chain. So I've already talked a bit about who are the actors. So who are the actors in this chain? Of course, it has to do with the people carrying out these activities. So
Yeah.
we've talked about the input provider. Then from there, maybe the farmer. And then from there, maybe an aggregator that purchases in large quantity from the farmers and then sell to another person. It could later be directly to the market or maybe to another company that processes something from it. And then from there, it goes on and on till this product gets to the end consumer. So even the consumer is involved in the chain.
In the chain, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes on that way. And that is just the vertical aspects, which is mainly the actors involved. However, there are also horizontal interactions. That is, which is not part of the chain, but these people are more of supporters supporting the chain, and that is why we call it horizontal interaction. For input
Yeah.
provider, we could have maybe a research institute, that provides information to this to maybe a seed bank or whatever. There are also, NGOs, governmental organizations that provide extension services to farmers. So these are the supporters. We also have banks providing financial information and finance generally
Loans
to the
and
chain.
support,
And
yeah.
yeah, so there are horizontal relationships, and then vertical relationship is about from one actor to the other, and that is where the chain is. So that is just basically it. And then in forest product chain, well, mostly if you're talking about forest products, it often begins with maybe a collector or an extractor,
What is a
so to say,
collector?
because yeah, a collector is, for example, someone who goes to collect the fruits or the nuts or extract the trees, the timber from the forest. So in this case, there is no input provider, and also there is no a farmer planting. There's no farmer planting. So in the forest product, it's called they could sometimes it begins with just collecting the fruits, the nuts directly from the forest. So yeah, that's just it.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on forest production? So because you have more like you have more knowledge on agriculture. So like so what are your thoughts on forest production? What do you think about it?
Well, like you said, like I said earlier, forest product chain is not very much different from agricultural value chain.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not very different. Yeah, but of course, if you are to look at just and if we are to compare both, it's still the same in the sense that forest products, who are the people that actually depend so much on this, and these are people who live or dwell around forest areas whose livelihood depend mostly on the sales of whatever it is that is collected from the forest. But also if you are to look at agricultural value chain, agriculture, especially in a developing country, it mostly involves rural farmers. So in this sense, they are the same actually. But of course, there is this complexity when it comes to forest chain, because the first step begins with the forest. It begins with what is already available, begins with the what we have naturally, that is the standing trees. It begins from there. Unlike agricultural chain where there is someone planting, and then after that is done, you clear the land again. There is more of tender care given to that, unlike products coming from the forest. And of course, attention needs to be paid to that also, because in a way it is different, because every activity or the first activity begins from the forest. Yeah, so let me leave it there. Then we'll go further.
So can you say that forest production has actually been sustainable?
Well, it depends. It depends on let me say who is involved. I mean, who are involved. For
The actors.
example, yeah, the actors, the companies involved. Because sometimes when you look at this chain, if you're trying to compare, for example, let me give an example. Cocoa, for example, is not a, we call it an agricultural product, where some people term it as a forest
Yes,
product because it grows in,
it's
you
a
know,
forest
like
product.
exactly. I don't know why they do that, but they often categorize it as a forest product. For example, cocoa and coffee. If you are to trace the chain, it's actually a very long one, because it extends beyond the local origin. It goes far into international organizations, and foreign companies. So the sustainability in that sense depends on who are the people involved. If we are to look at cocoa, for example, in Ghana, they've been working so much because of the other companies involved. We have chocolate companies, we have people who are interested in the fair trade. And when we talk about fair trade, of course, they are considering the social aspect of sustainability. They are ensuring that, okay, these people producing cocoa for us and the chocolates we eat, what value goes back to them in terms of financial value. So they're trying to ensure that, okay, there is a fair trade, not just the big companies making the chocolates get to earn the big money from cocoa. So when it comes to cocoa from some origins from Ghana, and then depending on the country, the companies involved, companies who are under the fair trade certifications or who oblige to the fair trade certifications, to some essence, they ensure that there is sustainability in the chain. So that's why I said it depends on who is involved. But of course, if we are to look at local chains, maybe of our simple agricultural commodities, I won't say it's sustainable, so to say. Yeah, I won't say it's sustainable.
So talking about creating these sustainability values, how can it be done, say in Africa, for example?
Creating sustainability values, I would say it involves everyone, you and I, and every other person out there, because we are all consumers of one forest product or agricultural product or another.
Yeah.
We all consume something, exactly. So it involves every one of us. And as a consumer, it involves you because you have the power to lay demands. You have the power to lay demands for sustainability values, in the sense that you want to make sure that this product that is being extracted from the forest, is it done the right way? Is the extraction done the right way? If we are all concerned about sustainability and we are aware of the impacts of our actions, of course, as consumers, we have the right to lay demands. Although that is not strong here, but in other developed countries, the consumers lay demand. They want to see and ensure that this chocolate I'm eating is from a fair trade. They want to see, they want to see that, okay, is it truly organic? They want to see that there is no child labor involved. So, but of course, in it, that's not something we talk about in a developed country yet. But with the help of the international organizations who are under the obligation to ensure that they practice fair trade, there is no child labor, they are the ones that try to ensure that, okay, when we are extracting from a developing country, we have to make sure that the farmers are not losing their children, as labor on the farm, but they are able to have enough money to get a laborer, stuff like that. And that is why, if you want to achieve something big in a value chain, you have to look at who has the governance, who has the power in the chain. And in most cases, the biggest actor in the chain tends to have the power, so to say. That is when we look at the big companies, because they determine a lot of things. And that is why in a developed country, the big companies are bounded to follow certain certifications to ensure that they comply to certain certifications in order to make sure that there is sustainability in every aspect of the production. So,
Okay, so
and also, and that is, yeah,
can you
please.
tell us some of the certifications that these big companies have to comply with?
Okay, for example, I said the other time, there is fair trade.
Yeah.
There is fair trade, and fair trade has to do with ensuring that, for example, if the end product of cocoa is chocolate, if this chocolate is sold for 100 naira, then how much of this 100 naira goes back to the farmer?
Okay.
Sometimes before now, a lot of companies, the big companies, tend to earn more money. They tend to, out of the 100 naira, it could be just 10 naira that goes back to the farmer, which is never enough. So the big companies, some of them are under they are obliged to follow some of these certifications, to ensure that they give enough back to the producers, where the resources come from, because they use their land, they use everything they have to make sure that there is cocoa for these big companies. So that is one of the certification. There is organic certification as well. Of course, trying to make sure that consumers do not consume what is unhygienic or poisonous to their health. And also, there are quite a lot of them also. And also there are some that there are some certifications that also, complies with environmental rules. So yeah, just
Okay,
put
so
them like
all
that.
of all these big companies, do they usually abide by this certification in their production to ensure sustainability in the chain?
Well, if I'm to speak of Nigeria, I don't know much.
Okay.
But of course, but in developed countries, it is a must. They have to comply because there is auditing. You
Yeah.
know, there are certification bodies that goes to these companies to audit their activities, and they trace it back. And of course, the companies also, there is following the ESG rules, that is environmental, social, and
Yeah.
governance. There are the
On
ESG
governance.
criteria that these companies also have to, comply with. So they have to, of course, make sure that there is transparency. They have to make sure that there is transparency in the chain. So they are also they have to publish their ESG report. And so
Yeah.
these things can be seen. So but in Nigeria, I don't know if we have rules for that. I don't know if companies really they may say yes, we do this, but I don't know if truly they comply. I really don't know much about that.
Okay, so do you have
Also,
any information? Do you have any
uh,
information as regards sustainability chain for Nigeria? How to ensure that they follow the certification rules? Do you have any information regarding that?
hmm, that is big because when we talk about sustainability, it requires collaborative efforts, not just from the
Yes.
government, but even from individuals. you know Not just from the government, even NGOs, even Eden World, for example. I was going to say that we all contribute to these things. For example, when you go out to carry out tree planting, not just for environmental conservation, but also this tree planting you carry out, how does it contribute to the financial well-being of the people living in a particular area? For example, shea butter. Shea butter is a non-timber forest product. Often the nuts and the fruit is collected from the forest and then processed into nuts, and from there to shea butter. And so when you go out for tree planting, do we also consider how this can benefit the people, not just the environment, as such that they only go to collect the fruits and not cutting down the trees? And so we can also
Yes.
contribute to environmental and economic well-being when we do that. And also, I won't right now I won't rely so much on the government. you know I will try to make sure that, for example, I carried out a study recently, and I realized that consumers actually have more power to contribute to economic well-being of the people and social well-being if they are aware of what impact their action carries. So we're actually doing a good thing. For example, in Eden World, the more you create awareness, the more people know about sustainability. Not just knowing, not just raising concerns in people, but also making them to know that when you do this, you contribute to this. When you purchase this particular product, you are helping to contribute to the financial well-being of a certain set of people. And so it is, consumers they have the power within them, in them to create, to lay demand on companies. They have the power to lay demand. Okay, for example, a company is not probably not complying to certain rules, or that a particular product, for example, let me divert a little. Recently I saw a tweet about the use of bleaching products. I
Oh
saw a
yeah.
tweet on that. Yeah, we know that is harmful to our health. We know the people producing this, making these products. But it is left to the people to lay demand. Okay, if you don't want this, the company has nothing else to do but to comply. So it's left to us. The more we raise awareness, also, the more people are aware, the more they know what they can actually do when they take actions. They know what they are contributing to when they take action. So I would still encourage and implore us to to try to raise more awareness of about sustainability, not just for the environment, but of course social values in terms of gender balance. Number one, gender balance is also very important, because if we are to look at agricultural value chain, mostly women in most cases, women are sidelined and are often used for unpaid labor. Unpaid labor in the sense that wives tend to help their husband, on the farm. They help in
Mm-hmm.
clearing, they help in, harvesting, in planting, but they don't get the money. The husband gets the money. You get what I'm saying? And those are unpaid labors
Yes,
that
I
if
get
they are
you.
to hire a laborer, they will need to pay for it. Do you get what I'm saying? So we try to encourage gender balance, and be sensitive um to gender roles. Maybe more men are encouraged to do this. More men have more lands, but of course, women are not so much into agriculture because they don't have lands inherited from their parents. We tend to try to make people come into awareness of these things, and that way, the more people know, the more they are able to lay demands and take actions.
Okay. It's been interesting listening to you today, Jumoke. Thank you very much for granting our request. So, what are your final words as regards sustainability value chain in forest products? Your
Uh,
final words.
Well, I'll say that I won't just leave it to forest products. I would also,
Yeah,
link it to agricultural
culture.
products because almost everything comes from what we eat, sometimes what we wear, it all comes from this primary product. So, what I would say is that if we want to create sustainable values, we can't rely on the government. We can't. Because it is beyond just a one man thing. It involves
Yeah,
everybody, it involves the big organizations, even the farmers. And that is why, for example, if you want to create a gender balance, if the farmer needs to be involved, the farmer needs to know these things. So I would just say, but within our own capacity as people that are educated, let us take more responsible actions, you know, to contribute to these things. Let's if you are, I know the transparency is not so much in Nigeria. It's not, I don't know if it's even there, to know whether a product is sustainable or not. But whatever it is, we know in our own way, even if it is just informing a neighbor, about the sustainability issues and all of that. Let's just do. The more people know, it's proven. The more people know, the more willing they are to even take actions. So it depends on, it falls on each and every one of us, especially the people that are educated, to pass on the information, to pass on the knowledge, and not just passing it on, but taking actions also in their own little way.
okay, thank you very much, Jumoke. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time. Thank you for enlightening us about sustainability in forest product chain. It was
Thank you for
interesting
having
to listen
me.
to you. I've added more knowledge to what I have currently.
Thank you.
And
You're welcome. You're
thank you
welcome.
very much. Do you have any other thing to say to us?
Does anyone have any question for me? Start with.
I'm not sure. There are no questions here. But if there are questions, we'll let you know
Okay.
later and then we'll post it on our social media site. All right, guys, and it's a wrap today on Green Talk with Eden World. I hope we have learned a thing or two from Jumoke talking about forest production sustainability, also agricultural production sustainability. See you guys next week at the same time. Have a good afternoon all. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Okay.